Alright, welcome back everyone to another Company of Heroes 2 replay cast. I don't have water in my glass, so I need to actually pour it. And yeah, it's a 2v2 on Minsk Pocket. It's, well, it was sent in by Glorious Vasya Ignatok, who is going to be, of course, Abuse and Loose. Or, Abuse or Loose. Right, although, Abuse and Loose probably makes sense. And his friend is going to be Belarus, Bitcoin, Global Power. And yeah, I'm just going to call him Belarus. Actually, his opponents are Ace and Down PT, who have sent me quite a few replays back in the past. I wonder if they're still watching my stuff. Definitely, yeah, Down PT was the one who sent me all those replays. I wonder if you're alive. Well, if you are, hello, and shout out. And yeah, so we have, of course, Soviets plus Soviets, you know, the Slavic team of Revenge versus Wehrmacht and Wehrmacht. Well, no, actually, we have one OKW. So, considering it's Minsk Pocket, we can prepare for like a 2-hour slugfest. Okay, so double engineers for Belarus, and he's gonna get some penals out. Looks like Vasa instead is gonna spam out conscripts. Probably a good thing just to get the extra capping power. And with the extra buffs that conscripts have received last patch, it's a little bit more valuable. I still wouldn't say it's as good as getting penals, but it can be worked with. And right now, yeah, the double engineer on the right side at the start is gonna slow down Bitcoin a little bit, but with penals coming through, he should be able to deal with the Wehrmacht on his side. Let's see the left-hand side. Well, there's some nasty, sneaky Sturm Pioneers. They're hiding in a very, very nice spot, and this could be pretty bad for the allies. However, they're gonna be able to flank the central, you know, central position. Of course, as you can see, these engineers were expecting a machine gun, and they were surprised to see only some Volksgrenadiers. So the Volksgrenadiers definitely going to go down to that flank. And the left-hand side, yeah, it seems like we have the conscript spam just kind of absolutely piling in and destroying the, you know, the Sturm Pioneers. So that's well done. And right now the Kugelwagen is in trouble because, again, there's too many conscripts. It got nerfed last patch, and looks like even the Sturm Pioneers almost getting wiped out by the conscript Sam. Looks like the conscript Sam is just going to charge forward and destroy anything in its path, but doom stack of units. Also, on the center, we have the penals doing quite well, actually, forcing away the Volksgrenadiers that were focusing, it seems, on the engineers, judging by the engineers' health. And the Grenadiers at sort of medium range will not be able to stand up to the SVT-40s. And of course, on the left side, the conscripts are still doing quite well and forcing away the Volksgrenadiers. So, looks like the Allies getting the win pretty much throughout the throughout the map. And except the right side, they've got pretty much everything under some pretty good control. So that's good for them. Looks like the Germans are going to try to respond with a mortar. And I'm not sure about that, because it's not like the Allies are really going for anything that could be countered by the mortar, like machine guns. However, first round does get 2 kills on those penals, so that's well done. And a pretty lucky little break for the Germans. And it looks like Down PT is gonna just replenish his riflemen, getting up some medical kits from his first Sturm Pioneers, repairing the Kugelwagen, and that's gonna be okay for him in the sort of early to mid stages. But he's gonna have to, in some way, expand his forces, and I'm gonna definitely keep an eye out on him. He does have the Führersturm doctrine, so I'm guessing that's what he's gonna go for, just to get the MB40s on his Volksgrenadiers. And right now it seems like nice flamethrower upgrade for Vasa. He's got the flamethrower. He's going to go for the NKVD disruption tactics. And of course Belarus initially picked the Terror Doctrine. Terror Doctrine very, very strong in the current update because of the howitzer, because of the way to build the KV-8 from the Tier 4. And of course, it's just overall a pretty good doctrine. It's got those nice bursts of propaganda. And in fact, there's 2 propaganda artilleries on the side of the Allies. So in the late game pushes, they're going to be able to, you know, make those AT guns retreat, which is going to be very, very good. So you could just prepare the push for your tanks just by getting a couple of their AT guns to retreat, and then charging in maybe from an unexpected direction. So there's definitely a lot of potential for the Allies. And also, of course, the NKVD disruption tactics have radio interception, so they're going to know in advance what the Germans are going for. That's, of course, going to provide them with a lot of advantages if they're communicating, which I'm guessing they are. And we have some, yeah, we have a scout car coming through for Bitcoin, or Belarus. Not quite sure. I'm not quite sure on this purchase. I think it's a little late to get the scout car, but hey, it's happening. And on the left-hand side, it seems like the conscript's getting a little bit pushed back, and good usage of cover from DownPT, getting up those sandbags and using those to just get a little bit of extra fire superiority. At this point, it seems like we have some Penals trying to attack the center, but they're going to get repulsed by these Grenadiers, most likely from long range and heavy cover advantage. And the Germans are getting a very, very much big advantage when it comes to VP, as right now they're about to get a triple cap, whereas right now there was a sort of stalemate in the VP game. Yeah, the Allies are going to have to find some way to deal with that. Looks like we have a mortar coming through, plus machine gun from Abuser Loose. So that's, of course, quite important because he needs to be able to kind of defend the points that he takes. That was his problem right now because, yeah, the Soviets have a lot of infantry squads, but they don't really have any ways to defend their points once they're taken. Once again, Penals charging through, getting some good damage off on the Volksgrenadiers, but the Volksgrenadiers with that incendiary grenade plus the Cube Wagon's fire support are going to force them away with some pretty nasty casualties. Looks like the conscript spam is going to be able to capture the left-hand side. Pretty well done, and I don't think he's going to be able to wipe out those Sturm Pioneers on the retreat, but he might as well try. And now with the Maxim machine gun, he's going to, well, have a way to actually defend his flanks from this Grenadier flank that is happening. The Grenadiers looks like are going for the field point, of course, of Minsk Pocket, which is quite dangerous. But the machine gun over here is facing the wrong side. It's shooting at these Volksgrenadiers. So, in fact, the Grenadiers could also come in and flank a machine gun, as the Cube Wagon is doing. But the Cube Wagon needs to be careful because the rear gun, well, rather the other gunners in the crew of the Maxim are actually able to do quite a bit of damage to it. Right-hand side, thanks to the scout car, we have the combat engineers right now able to capture a little bit of the right-hand side, of course, forcing away that machine gun. Doesn't want to tangle with the flamethrowers, of course. And looks like, yeah, there's a bit of a retreat happening for Belarus. But yeah, if you can keep those Penals alive and get them bedded up, they're, you know, going to be pretty useful. Right now, Abuser Loose still getting some more Maxim machine guns. That's pretty fine. The problem is, what about vehicles? DownPT is going for a Lux, and the Allies don't really seem to have any way of getting out their own, except, well, Belarus does have Tank Heavy Battalion Command and 62 fuel, so he's going to have enough for a Lux, not a Lux, T-70 soon. Looks like the Allies were actually kind of forced away from the entirety of the map, but this is going to make them a little bit stronger, in fact, because it's going to allow them to come back from the base with some pretty concentrated forces, as you can see, which is a nice way of saying they're right now blobbed up and the Germans are not going to be able to win by superior numbers anymore, which is what they had done. However, the Lux is in the area, and that's going to be very, very dangerous for the Allies. They don't have any anti-tank guns, it seems. Nope, they don't have any ETs. And, well, at some point they're going to have the T-70 or maybe an Su-85, but that's going to be, or sorry, Su-76, but that's going to be in the future. And right now the Lux is definitely not a dream of the future. It is a fact of the now, and that's not very good for the Allies because they're going to take a lot of damage. The Lux is very, very cautious because it's expecting an anti-tank gun, but as you can see, now that it realizes what is happening, it is going to be a whole lot more aggressive. Also, it's kind of afraid of these conscripts having anti-tank grenades. They don't. So, yeah, it could be worse. I wonder if Belarus is going to upgrade any PTRSs on his Penals. It doesn't look like it right now. That's because he is in neutral territory or enemy territory, so it's not like he can upgrade even if he wanted to. And he is going for an Su-76. Also, Vasa is going for a T-70 himself, so lots of tier 3 play coming through from the Soviets. That's pretty okay. Right now we have, of course, Breakthrough being picked from DownPT and Lightning War being picked from Ace, and that's, well, of course, two very, very strong doctrines, giving them some late game options, also some mid game options with Panzer Fusiliers and Relief Infantry. So overall, they're going to be definitely benefiting from these doctrinal picks. I think that they're good ideas as a whole, and we'll see how they manage to use them. But I have good expectations of this, you know, German setup. And well, these pioneers are going to die. Rip. Absolutely murdered by the Penals. Right now on the left-hand side, we have another sort of capping attempt from the Soviets, but it's getting forced away by the Panzer II Lukes, so that's of course not very good. But now we finally have the counterpart for the Allies, that would be the T-70, and also an Su-76M for Belarus. So right now we have the counters in place to deal with all of that, but the Axis are still in a very, very commanding position. They have most of the map under their control, and they seem to be still winning most of the engagements. So it's gonna be up to the Soviets to kind of reverse the trend and get some points back on the field. And at this point, I'm not really sure how they're going to be able to do that, except by keeping their Su-76 and T-70 together and using their conscripts to support these units by anti-tank grenades, just to prevent any nasty flanks. And I wonder what Ace is doing. Well, Ace is going for the support armored core. So he's going to have, I guess, Panzer IVs coming out for, you know, the medium tank part of the, you know, bargain. But, yeah, I wonder if that's going to be a good idea. I would definitely go for a lot of Panzer IVs if I was him, because it could be very, very useful. Overall, they would just be the most versatile unit that the Germans have at their disposal.
Enemy forces are securing our territory.
And, well, yeah, Pino's gonna flood for the right-hand side. Nice flank attempt from these conscripts, but they're gonna get, they're gonna get swamped by Germans and probably die. Looks like, yeah, the Su-76M is trying to chase down something, probably the Lukes, but the Raketenwerfer does a lot of damage on the Su-76. This T-70 destroys the Raketenwerfer crew, so that's pretty good. And actually, the Allies have an not an AT gun crew, machine gun crew coming up, so they might have been able to get in time to, you know, prevent the recapture of the Raketenwerfer, but it was not enough. And it looks like we have a massive penal force just kind of approaching from the side. This Panzer II knows what's happening and is going to be trying to respond. It should be a little bit careful just because there could be penals with PTRSs and the satchel charges, but thankfully for it, it's not, you know, happening, and the Raketenwerfer, now newly recruited, is able to destroy the Su-76 as it was doing damage to the Panzer II. And so the penal flank, while potentially devastating, and it's probably going to be able to, in fact, take the the field point, while it was pretty devastating, it's going to be repulsed eventually. Actually, a Stug G coming for Ace. I think that's a bit of a mistake. I feel like it would have been a better choice to go with a Panzer IV, because it would have just been more versatile. And it's not like there's a lot of hard targets for the Stug G to deal with. There's, yes, one T-70, but the T-70, yeah, it's T-70, so you can deal with it just with the anti-tank guns. And there's Su-76s. So it's not like the Axis really have to contend with some major vehicles. So I don't know. I just think that the Stug was not the best idea, especially considering that the Axis have resource advantage right now. So it's really up to them to get the big vehicles out and start the carnage. You know, trying to get ahead of their opponents, and it's going to be up to the Allies to catch up. But as it stands, the Axis are allowing the Allies to get their, well, mid-game advantages kind of working for their favor, because, of course, Su-76s and T-70s are very, very cheap, and for their cost, quite effective. In fact, probably more cost-effective than Stugs and Luxes and all that kind of stuff. So that's an advantage for the Allies that the Axis are just kind of letting them have, despite the fact that they could be going for medium armor right about now. And it looks like this Grenadier squad is gonna go down. Rip. And there's a bit of a gardening happening. Although, I mean, it's 3 conscript squads, so not really. There we are, destroyed. That was a little bit of an overextension on those Grenadiers' part, getting sort of, you know, yeah, pushed a little bit too far onto the VP. It's good that they're harassing the VPs, but they just need to be very, very careful when doing it, because there's a lot of Soviet infantry on the field, and there's a lot of just Soviet soft units like machine guns and, you know, the like. So they need to be very, very careful. Looks like on the right side, Propaganda War are going to force away all of the Grenadiers, and thanks to that, the Penals can now capture the right-hand side VP, most likely. Whereas on the left-hand side, we had a bit of an attack attempt from down PT, gets, you know, gotten forced back by the Maxim machine gun. And in the center, the Soviets have control over the whole area. So despite the losing engagements and all of that, the Soviets have been able to establish control of a fairly significant portion of the map and completely reverse what was happening just 5 minutes ago. Right now, it's the Soviets that are pushing the Axis back into their base, and not the other way around. So it's pretty well done by Vasa and Belarus. I feel like the biggest problem for the Axis was just how many anti-vehicle units they went for, and how little anti-infantry they went for, and also the fact that they didn't go for a P4 or a medium tank as a whole. Just feel like it could have been very good. Of course, the Stuke deals with the Su-76 just easily. But the lack of a Panzer IV is really getting felt. I mean, right now, ooh, looks like the MPT, instead of going for the Schwer, he went for a battle headquarters, back-teching all the way to the Tier 2. Why would he do that? Well, I would definitely agree with an infrared half-track right about now, because it would allow him a lot more intelligence on what the Soviets want to do. He's, of course, going to get the field medics. And after that, I'm thinking that he's going to go for, well, maybe the Jagdtiger instead of the KT, because he's got two choices. He can upgrade the Schwer Panzer quarters and go for the KT, just waiting a long time, but, you know, getting it eventually. Or he could not upgrade the Schwer Panzer quarters and get the Jagdtiger, which does not require the third building. It would, you know, both of them would be an interesting choice, but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Considering the current situation, finally a Panzer IV on the field for Ace. Considering the current situation, it makes sense to go for the late game for the Axis, because they've just gotten their sort of earlier game advantage kind of reversed. But the late game is the Axis playground. So the Axis really needs to be, especially because it's Minsk Pocket, so it's a map that really favors like very, very passive, stalemate-y type of playstyles. It could be very, very good for the Axis to just kind of sit back, maybe build some artillery units right about now. DMPT could go with Stuka, but looks like he's going to go for a Schwer Panzer quarters. So I feel like the better option for the Axis would have been to go with a Stuka, perhaps a Panzerwerfer, trying to get the artillery advantage, trying to get a lot of support weapons, a nice defensive line to defend the center, and then trying to hold down into these positions, defending what they have, defending 1 or 2 VPs at once, and one, of course, fuel point, and trying to outlast the Allies, out-attrition them. The crucial thing to do in that kind of a playstyle, of course, would be to get the artillery superiority, because if the Allies get the artillery superiority, then they're going to be able to just pound you into submission. If not, though, you're going to be able to sit in your little defensive position and, well, eventually go for the big King Tiger, the big Tiger, the big Jagdtiger, all those things. And this is not good for the Allies. Looks like the Su-76 is going to go down yet again. That would be the third Su-76 to go down. And the Panzer IV easily able to push away the penal battalions. I feel like right now for Belarus it would be a very good idea to upgrade a couple of these penals with a few PTRSs. I feel like that would be a very, very good choice for him. Otherwise, he's really going to be suffering against the tanks, because he still has not back-tech to the Tier 2, which is, in my opinion, very crucial. To the support weapons Campania, he absolutely needs that building as much as possible, because he needs the anti-tank guns. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to stand on his own against the Panzer IVs and such without his support of his ally. And his ally can't be everywhere at once. He's only got 1 AT. T-34-76 on the field for Abuse or Loose, and Bugs are on the field for everybody. So, yeah, the T-34-76, I think that's a very, very good idea. Right now, Vasa does have rapid conscription that he can use to replenish his conscripts. He does have a couple of anti-tank guns. He's purchasing another one. He's got a couple of Maxims. So he's got a very, very decent, like, all-rounded army. And so getting the T-34-76 is just going to emphasize that even further. It's not going to be the most effective thing against the Panzer IV, but it's going to be effective enough with the support of the Zisk guns. And they're also going to be very effective at supporting the Su-76s that keep coming from Belarus. He just keeps spamming these out. I feel like at this point it would have been worth for him to go with the Tier 4 and go with the Su-85 instead of the Su-76. But, hey, I'm not the one playing there. Right now, Maxim machine gun just sort of, yeah, keeping these Germans at bay. And right now, Vasa holding down the left-hand side is very crucial for the Soviets because at this point, the Axis have been able to reestablish control over the right, and Belarus, with him losing a lot of Su-76s and not having any anti-tank support against the Panzer IVs and Stugs, etc., he's not able to effectively push up on the right side because his Pinos, whenever they make a nice flank, they just kind of get forced back by the P4. Although what this is doing is that it's forcing the P4 onto one area of the map, rather than allowing it freedom of movement over the left-hand side as well. So this is definitely good because it's forcing the Panzer IV to stay in one area rather than just be a menace all over the field. And it looks like the Germans have a pretty good push going right now. They have forced back the Pino battalions over here. So they've got the center defended and they're pushing up on the left-hand side, although what they're doing is they're doing sort of not really a combined push, but sort of like double 1v1 type kind of a playstyle. And what this is leading into is that, of course, the player that's lacking into tank, that would be Dom PT, gets flanked by the T-3476. The T-3476 manages to avoid these Rakenwerfer's dances around them and chases down the little, you know, what's the name of that thing? The Lukes, destroying it, and a nice propaganda war, double propaganda war, in fact, to get the double sort of fast effect on these guys, but it's not forcing these Rakenwerfers to retreat, interestingly enough. They were forced to retreat by the T-70 rather than the propaganda war, so that was a bit of a waste of munitions. Unfortunately for the Axis, while I was looking at, well, unfortunately for the viewers as well, while I was looking on the left-hand side, it seems like a Stug and a Panzer IV, oh no, a Kübelwagen and a Panzer IV went down in the center, so that's not very good. Here comes a Katyusha barrage, hitting more conscripts than German troops. The Stug is still alive on the left-hand side, and it's gonna, well, be enough of a deterrent to avoid these guys coming back on the field anytime soon. But there's two Su-76s, so this could be potentially quite dangerous for the Stug as well. Looks like we have assault artillery coming down on the fuel point. But yeah, this engagement was definitely a win for the Allies. And I wonder when Bitcoin is gonna go for the LEFH artillery gun. His ally, of course, went for the Katyusha, which is a very, very good choice. But the Katyusha is not going to be able to get the artillery superiority on its own forever. I'm guessing that at some point the Germans are going to get their own pieces, and once they do that, then they're going to need something bigger and meaner, especially once the Germans get up their big Schwerpanzer quarters like that to defend their crucial positions like the fuel point. I feel like the ML-20 is going to be very effective at dealing with the Schwerpanzer quarters, so that's another reason for the Allies to go with one. Relief infantry being popped by Ace has given him one Ostrupen, so that was not the most effective exchange of munitions for, you know, squads. But hey, one Ostrupen is better than no Ostrupen, and Ostrupen are best Strupen, of course, with the LMG-42 that they can upgrade. Very, very nasty at only 45 munitions. Of course, not as effective, I believe, as the Grenadier one, but still quite strong, and so might as well go for it. Also, Ostrupen are going to be very effective at recrewing any kind of support weapons that go down. With a Katyusha on the field, that is very, very much needed. Looks like Bitcoin is going for a half-track. Huh, interestingly enough. I'm not quite sure what the half-track is supposed to do, if it's going to be used as a reinforcement point or as a anti-aircraft slash anti-infantry suppression unit, I wonder. In both of those roles, it's going to be very effective and relatively cheap. The problem is, of course, it's very, very squishy. So you need to be very careful with this thing. You need to keep it alive. Looks like, oops, sorry. Looks like there's a sniper on the field. That's an interesting choice. The sniper on the field with enemy artillery is very scary, as you can see. Oh, damn. That's absolutely nasty. It looks like two Grenadier squads are going to go down. One of them to a mine, one of them to a T-3476. Oh no, actually to the Katyusha barrage. T-3476 very luckily does not shoot into that S-mine field. That would have definitely destroyed the entire squad. Looks like the... damn, I just spit all over my keyboard. Looks like the Stug is going to try to bar the right-hand side from the T-3476. And the stalemate is real at this point. No significant territory changes in these last few engagements. This is exactly to the favor of the Axis, despite the fact that this looks to be pretty good for the Allies. Yeah, the Axis are gonna want to keep this status quo as long as possible. However, Yeah, yeah. However, what they need to be very careful of is the Katyusha. Again, to deal with that, you would need some kind of artillery from the Axis side, and it doesn't look like any of that is coming through. They're going to be eating the Allied artillery fire patiently and probably stupidly, just to be very, very frank, because, like, yeah, these units, all of these units are very vulnerable to Katyushas. And it's going to be a while before the JT and the Tiger can, you know, be purchased. It's going to be like at least 3 or 4 more minutes. So this could be potentially pretty bad, especially because the Allies have map hacks in the form of the T-70 and the radio intercept, although the radio intercept does not really allow you to see enemy units and their position, more rather allows you to know what the enemies are going for. Su-85 being built by Abuserloose, very good choice in my opinion, because while 1 Katyusha is fine and 2 Katyushas would be better, he needs to be aware that the Axis are going for something big in terms of vehicles, because they haven't seen anything after the Lukes from the OKW player down PT. And while there were some Stugs around and some Panzer IVs, it wasn't anything too particularly massive for... Oh, damn, another assault artillery. Wasn't anything too particularly massive for the other Axis. So, in the meantime, actually, it seems like the Axis are pushing up very, very well, and the Allies are back to the base. But yes, they should know that basically, at this point, the Germans are in big tank mode. And that could be, of course, quite bad for them if they're not prepared. Let's just speed it up a little bit because, well, these engagements are basically the same all over again. Yeah, as you can see, the sort of lines have been drawn over the center area of the map. Right now, the Soviets have been pushed back, but the Germans, in their like defensive mindset, didn't really take advantage of this, and they didn't push up their own defensive lines. So this is definitely to the favor of the Allies. Finally, the Tiger is on the field for down PT, and the Jagd Tiger is on the field for down PT, and the normal Tiger for Ace. So right now, the Germans have the complete advantage when it comes to vehicles because they have their 2 massive vehicles. They need to be able to use them effectively, though. The Jagd Tiger is definitely going to counter the Su-85s and the Su-76s. So that's going to be pretty bad. But actually, I don't see any bright spot for the Allies in all of this. This is a very well built defensive positions for the Germans. They just have way too many units over here. Looks like here comes the Penals. They're going to try to get some satchel charges off, I think, on these infantry squads. But the Tiger coming in is going to force away that push. And of course, the Jagdtiger being around is going to prevent the Allied tank destroyers from working their magic against the Tiger and the Stug. There goes one of the Penal squads, and the other Penal squad does manage to get the neutralization on the VP, but it's not going to be enough. Right now, the VP situation is remarkably even, as you can see. The T-34-76, upon seeing the Jagdtiger, just does exactly what he should have done and moves where the Jagdtiger and the normal Tiger aren't, aka the right-hand side. Gets a nice bit of a kill on those Grenadiers. It could have tried to use the secure mode to take the right side VP, as right now the Axis are securing the left-hand side, but that would have left it very, very much exposed to counterattack by Ace, because he's got some relatively mobile units in the Tiger and the Stück 3. Tiger hits a mine in a very fortunate spot because of a lot of trees that are in the area, preventing a lot of line of sight from, you know, being had by the Allied tank destroyers and anti-tank guns. Looks like the Allies are trying to push, and they're going to be able to capture the VP most likely, unless they get completely pinned down. Katyusha fire coming through, along with the propaganda artillery, are going to force away the Axis defenses, actually. And, well, unfortunately, the Su-76 is going to go down to both the minefield and the Jagdtiger. So this allows the Allies to capture the VP at a bit of a cost, but there's still a lot of Penals over here, as you can see. I don't know, that's actually a lot of engineers. And an anti-tank grenade on the Jagdtiger forces it to, well, it's going to force it to back away and retreat to get repaired. Maxim machine gun going to try to defend the VP, but it's getting into a pretty bad position, so it's going to need to be careful. It also can be flanked around from the left-hand side by these forces, although it's a lot of support weapons. There's also a few Grenadiers as well. So T-34 comes in on the left-hand side. This T-34 is going to be invaluable, so Voss is going to need to micro it well because it needs that secure mode in order to rival with the German capping power and the German harassment moves. So whenever the German infantry tries to capture a VP, the T-34 can just kind of come in, force them away, and then recap the point for the glory of the Soviet Onion. Right now in the center, the sniper has actually got 8 kills. Interesting. Protected as it is by the tank destroyers, but this is potentially dangerous as the penal battalion approaches, and they're going to have to escape as quickly as they can. Another T-34-76 being built by Vasa. Interesting choice. He's definitely going for the medium tank flanking army, and looks like Belarus has upgraded tier 4 to get the Su-85, so that's an okay choice, although considering the Yak Tiger is on the field, for some reason this thing has not been repaired yet. Considering the Yak Tiger is on the field, it's potentially very dangerous to go with T-34, or not T-34, sorry, Su-85s, because the Su-85s, they're basically hopeless against the Yak Tiger. They just kind of move in, they try to shoot, maybe they get in range of the Yak Tiger, even though the Yak Tiger has superior range. They shoot the Yak Tiger, they don't penetrate, the Yak Tiger shoots back and takes away a third of their HP. So that's kind of dangerous. Now PT is also finally out of munitions for that assault artillery. That's got to be a relief for the Allies. They got pretty smashed by those assault artilleries in the sort of central area. As you can see right now from the strategic map point of view, the Allies are reconsolidating their left-hand side positions, and their T-34s are going to allow them a lot of pressure actually on the German central positions, because they can just kind of use these as flanking tools that are going to be very, very effective. They can't be ignored because they do okay against enemy vehicles, and they do very, very well against enemy infantry. As you can see, there's a Yak Panzer 470 though on the field for down PT. So he's going to be able to use that Yak Panzer 470 to help out the Yak Tiger. The Yak Tiger is going to watch over the central lane, whereas the Yak Panzer 470 is going to watch over the left-hand side and try to prevent flanks, which is a very good choice. Looks like these guys are building a bunker on the right side to prevent harassment. That's a pretty good choice. The problem is the Allies are going to come in with T-34s to harass that point. So T-34s, that's another great advantage that they have in the late game. With their secure mode, they don't really particularly care about suppression, so they can cap even under machine gun fire. They can destroy machine guns as well. Center being capped by well, the glorious forces of the Soviet Union, and Belarus unfortunately is going to have to face this 42 heavy machine gun. The Allies also are pretty low when it comes to the munitions, so they're not going to have enough fear propaganda artillery as they maybe would want to. Here comes another drop of the fear propaganda. I'm not sure exactly where. I don't really see the red smoke anywhere. However, looks like the Yak Panzer 470 has been damaged by conscripts or something, or maybe a mine, and the T-34s are charging in. They're trying to get the kill, even at the cost of their life. There's a couple of anti-tank guns over here that are trying to help out, but thankfully for the Germans, there's this little bit of trees in the way, and actually the veteran T-34 went down, which is pretty nasty for the Allies, and the Su-85s and anti-tank guns were not able to assist. Tiger, however, was, and the support weapons from down PT were, so that's of course the lack of fear propaganda artillery coming in, and also a nice anti-tank strafe dealt a little bit of damage for Ace. The problem with the anti-tank strafe usage is that now he's only going to have one more usage of that. The Axis having the control of both of these munitions points is starting to become more and more crucial by the minute, so that's very, very good for them. Right now, the T-70 has reached vet free, so the Allies are going to have a very, very good intelligence lead over the Germans. And I think that down PT should really be going with that infrared half-track, although he's reached his population limit, actually, so he cannot go that. That's unfortunate. Okay, he's upgraded his automatrons in the base, so now he's going to be able to repair his Yak Panzer in a relatively quick manner. However, the Allies still have a nicely unopposed position on the left-hand side. They managed to get a nice flank on the Tiger, which hadn't been repaired yet, and they're probably going to be able to kill it this time with the support of the SUs. They've got the firepower that they need to take down the beast, and a nice Katyusha barrage gets hampered by the trees, but does a lot of damage to this German infantry force over here. However, it's not going to be enough to save the T-34s as they get Panzerfausted and Raketenwerfer down, and also the Yak Tiger participating in the slaughter of the Allied tanks. So at the cost of the free T-34s, the Allies were able to destroy the Tiger. Not really sure that that's a worth it kind of deal, but it is actually, because Vasa does have enough resources to replenish his T-34s, at least some of them, whereas Ace does not have enough resources to replace the Tiger as of yet. He's gonna need to wait a couple more minutes to get that. Okay, and the Allies managed to capture the center. Looks like a combination of artillery barrages, infantry pushes, and a nice mortar killing the sniper are gonna force away enough of the German defensive emplacements and units for the Allies to get, a unit in the capturing circle. The problem seems to be that the Axis nicely captured the entirety of the right-hand side, so they still have a bit of a resource lead over the Allies. It seems like the Allies are starting to get into their element a little bit, and Belarus is saving up some resources, so I think that he might be going for that ML-20 that he was so desperate, well, I'm thinking he was so desperately looking for this entire game. T-70 right now, because of the T-34s being dead, has to be playing the role of left-hand side defender. The Jagdpanzer is definitely a little bit of an overkill for a T-70, but it's going to try to do its best. And in the center, surprisingly, this Jagdtiger hasn't been able to deal with the Su-85s as well as I thought it would be. And the Axis are in an okay position overall. Despite the fact that they've lost a couple of engagements, they've still got a majority of points just kind of in their possession. Nice artillery barrage. Destroys the mortar team. This is what I was talking about with the artillery superiority. It's been giving the Axis a lot of headaches, and right now they had to go with a Panzerwerfer instead of immediately replacing the Tiger. Especially because right now it seems like the Allies are stealing some support weapons from the Germans. Alright. There's also a Katyusha from Belarus, so that's a double Katyusha on the field. Damn. Potentially a wipe on the Obersulan. No. Lucky that the Katyusha missed. Alright, the Allies are back on the right-hand side, sending in a lot of engineers. Probably a good choice. Looks like there is a bunker with a machine gun, layered with another bunker with a machine gun, and seasoned with a few pioneers on the right side, just kind of, and a few minefields to defend it. Although this could be dangerous, of course, the pioneers, or rather the engineers, get into the rear lines and they see the Panzerwerfer. Luckily, the Panzerwerfer was already backing off, and the SU was not able to get the killing shot on the Su-85. What is this SU doing? It's dead, most likely. Luckily, the Jagdtiger was sort of smoked out by, I'm guessing, Soviet mortars. I have no idea what's providing that smoke, but I'm guessing, yeah, Soviet mortars. And an assault artillery is actually coming down on the field point, which could be potentially quite dangerous for the Allies. The Allies once again capturing the center, keeping themselves barely in the game as the Axis have secured the left-hand side. So this could be potentially pretty bad for the Allies, as right now it seems like their front lines are mostly collapsing. There goes the Su-85, and the Katyushas are dangerously vulnerable. Even the little half-track is vulnerable. So overall, if the Germans were able to get a good offensive going, although the Jagdpanzer 470 tries to exploit this breakthrough, but it hits a mine and it gets destroyed by anti-tank guns. So well done by Vasa getting a victory from the jaws of defeat. And he's starting to rebuild his T-34 force, so he's going to be able to reestablish control over the left-hand side, most likely, because it's just way too close for the Allied base and way too far away from the Axis base for those Grenadiers to effectively project enough power over the VP, with, of course, T-34s and T-70s being on the field. It seems like in the center we have Obersoldan just kind of pushing through, getting a good cap on that VP, so that's kind of fine. Both sides using smoke quite effectively, but I'm looking at a German advantage right now because they've just got everything in their favor when it comes to vehicles. Well, despite the, of course, left-hand side, like, just supreme mobility of the T-34s and the SUs, not the SUs, the T-70s, sorry. It's a long game. The T-70s and the T-34s just able to easily control the left-hand side. But other than that, yeah, the Germans just have superiority. They've got Tigers, they've got Jagdtigers, so the center is going to be theirs. They've got infantry superiority as well, despite these penals doing their damn best to avoid all of that. I mean, Dampiti with his Upper Soldan is going to provide that. And, well, yeah. It just seems like the Germans have a little bit of a better position all over the map. Looks like, yeah, the Allies are trying to advance with these two penals, but they're going to get pushed away by the Tiger. Most likely. Wonder what the Tiger is doing. Tiger is a little bit afraid of the anti-tank guns. Anti-tank guns pushing up, but this is a dangerous move. There's no infantry support over here for these anti-tank guns because it was forced away by the Germans. However, artillery from the Allied side, as you can see, always coming in the favor of the Soviet Union. Ooh, a T-34 charge right up the center. Not even trying to flank, capitalizing on a lot of damage dealt to the Tiger, most likely by the SUs and the tank guns. So well done. They destroyed the Stug, and they surprisingly managed to destroy the Tiger as well. The Tiger turns around to deal with the T-34s, but that's a nasty and deadly mistake as the anti-tank line of the Allies pushes up and destroys it from the rear. In the meantime, a massive Stuka close air support tries to help out and destroys the, destroy the T-34, but the T-34 is way too zippy. This Su-76 or Su-85 is trying to push up for unknown reasons and is probably going to be destroyed by the Stuka close air support as it passes for a second run, although there's not a lot of line of sight coming through for the Axis. Yeah, at this point, I'm not sure what this Su-85 is doing, probably just a miss micro in the heat of the moment. The second Su-85 is also pushing up. This time, I think it's to defend against any kind of, like, usage of the Schwerpanzer quarters. There goes the main gun of the Königstigers on the field. There goes the main gun of the Su-85. King Tiger being purchased by the Germans in a desperate move as all of their other units have been destroyed. And just like that, the Allies have been completely able to reestablish their advantages. They have reestablished control over the center. The problem is, can they defend all of this? Well, the Axis are sort of taking their counterattack time very, very seriously. They have gotten their units back on the field. Their infantry is going to be able to do a number on the Soviet units that are left in the area. The Soviets don't have enough munitions to get enough propaganda wars to push them back to the base. So I'm guessing that these penals are just going to get suppressed down, and these penals are probably going to just have to retreat back to base. With the KT also being on the field, most likely the center is going to be recaptured by the Germans, and the right-hand side is likely to just stay in German hands, whereas the left-hand side is likely to become a bit of an Allied fortress. However, with these Su-85s being on the field, remember the other Su-85 did not die. With these guys being on the field, the KT is now in a pretty bad position with no Yak-Tiger support, no Stug support, no Tiger support. Overall, it's just not very good for him. Nice Panzer Rifle barrage, does a little bit of damage to the 76mm AT guns, but it's not enough to destroy them. These anti-tank guns should definitely be spread out a little bit, but here comes a Katyusha barrage in response, forcing away the Panzer Rifle before it gets destroyed by a stray rocket, and forcing away the mortar crew as well. So overall, this allows the Soviets to come in and capture the center, and the two T-34s are going to be instantly replaced by Vasa. In the meantime, both sides have been upgrading some fuel caches on their sides of the map, but nothing really too extensive, so no real team has the resource advantage. Slight advantage to the Germans, but not really anything that can be called that even. Looks like the Allies are going to get their positions established in the center, but the Germans definitely have time to kind of hunker down and get their control back slowly but surely, because that's what they're going to want to do. They're going to want to grab artillery superiority first things first, and then the rest is going to come pretty much automatically, because they do have the sort of advantage when it comes to vehicles by default, being the Germans. And they're going to have the advantage in terms of heavy tank destroyers as well. So overall, considering the map is Minsk Pocket, they should be able to basically reduce the Allies to eventually nothingness. Just slowly but surely, winning engagements just by a tiny bit. staying alive by just having at least one VP under their control, which is what they're doing with this right-hand side sort of fortification to defend some depth. And yeah. The advantages for the Allies, however, are pretty impressive. We do have a lot of T-34s on the field. We do have a lot of infantry that is well vetted up. We do have a lot of support weapons that are well vetted up. Whereas the Germans, they also have some of these things in abundance, but ooh, this is pretty dangerous. T-34-76 manages to get behind the enemy. Luckily for the Germans, it misses its shot on the the Panzerwerfer. But counter battery fire from the Katyusha might be able to destroy it. Luckily, the last rockets that would have destroyed it miss. So yeah, very lucky little play for the Germans. They managed to keep those Panzerwerfers alive, and that's exactly how weak they are to these flanking maneuvers if they're not careful, which is why they need to be very, very careful in constructing their defensive lines, especially because these propaganda artilleries have been very effective for the Allies, and anytime they see like the Axis setting up their defenses any kind of way, as you can see like right this, here comes the propaganda artillery. And actually, the propaganda artillery does not leave red smoke as I thought it did. So that's it's pretty bad for the Germans, as anytime they try to do anything, they get forced to retreat. So that's allowing the Allies essentially a lot of territory. That's what it's doing. Because it's not just about who kills the most. It's also about who stands in control of the field when all the fighting is done. And right now, the Allies have been increasingly the victors when it comes to that sort of area. There goes the anti-tank gun, but there's plenty of Soviet infantry in the area that can recapture it. And on the right side, it seems like the Soviets have been pushing up their T-34s to, you know, capture the points. King Tiger decides to respond. I think this is a mistake. This King Tiger is almost at half HP. And look, it's got absolutely no infantry support. Let's take a look at the, vision that they see. It's not a lot. It does manage to destroy the Su-85, but there's the T-34 over there that can try to flank it. There's another T-34 here that can try to flank it. The King Tiger is very lucky that no allied units tried to get behind it, and they would have been able to do that. And it's lucky also that no conscripts were in there to get any kind of anti-tank grenades. Although a second T-34 is going to try to get the flanking maneuver and circle strafe that it was looking for this entire time. King Tiger pops the blitz to get out, and it does manage to block the T-34, but the second Su-85 is not going to have the same mercy as it had before, as it comes in there, does some weird maneuvers, and in fact lets the King Tiger destroy the T-34-76. Because of these Panzerschrecks, the King Tiger might be able to survive, but this Su-85 for some reason does not chase down the King Tiger, which is very, very low. Right now, it would definitely be able to destroy it. It's almost dead, and the Su-85 does not have the focus sight pop. This is a very good idea because it's going to allow it to be faster, but it does pop it now. Let's see if it actually sees this KT. It would be able to see it. But what this KT is doing, it's very cleverly hiding behind this, little thing of bushes. It does manage to get an attack round shot on the Su-85. The Su-85 replies with another attack round shot of its own, but it does not penetrate, and the King Tiger gets the winning shot. Very well done. Pretty lucky, as well as pretty skilled in the usage of that King Tiger. In fact, very skilled, getting the victory where it should have been a defeat. Overall, I think that was a very big mistake to just kind of send in the KT unsupported. In the meantime, though, while we were looking at that, the sort of central positions of the Germans have been once again whittled down to almost nothing. Looks like there's a bunker that's been built by Ace, but the anti-tank guns over here should be able to deal with that, along with another Su-85 for Vasa. Vasa's going to be able to get another T-34-76 with his current resources, and Belarus right now is getting another Su-85. So if that King Tiger had been destroyed, and it almost was, it would have been a pretty bad position for the Germans to be in, because they would have been completely without any kind of reserves for resources. This T-70 is still alive. It's able to once again defend the left-hand side of the map quite effectively against the tide of Volksgrenadiers, so that's pretty good. And it's allowing the Allies once again to stay in the fight when it comes to VPs, despite the advantages that the Germans have had throughout this game in that regard. It seems like the Allies are down to 195 and the Germans are 260 interesting explosion. But if the Allies can just kind of keep the center controlled and, you know, under their influence, it could be pretty good. Because it's not like the difference is that big when it comes to VPs. It's going to come down to who can win the engagements and who can either... Ooh, nasty. There goes the Obersoldaten. Who can either, as I was about to say, get the most wipes on enemy units, because that's the crucial thing at this point. Not really to cause casualties, but to cause wipes. And it looks like Down PT has been losing so many units, I'm guessing, to the Katyushas. 24 kills to 1 Katyusha. Let's check out the mortar as well. 23 kills, so that's 47 kills just between those 2 units. And then you add, yeah, it goes to 51, 81. 81 kills between these 3 artillery units. That's definitely the culprit of all those casualties. Looks like a Panther has been built by Down PT because he's very, very tired of getting his units forced away by T-34-76s and S-2-76s. Well, I mean, yeah, that's okay. But a better purchase is the Stuka. Finally something for the Germans to try to get some artillery on the field. You know, if the Allies are destroying you with artillery, might as well get some artillery of your own. And right now, the Allies are still trying to sort of whittle away at these defenses on the right-hand side. Very well done by Ace. Just constantly replenishing these bunkers, rebuilding them as they are destroyed, and letting the right-hand side be a safe haven for German domination, so that this VP at least keeps the Allies at bay. Right now, though, interesting that Bitcoin never went for any shock troops. The Allies are really sort of building up to a good push, I see. They've got a lot of units in the center. They've got a lot of course, artillery that's still pounding the Axis. Interestingly enough, finally some Pioneers are on the field for Ace, and they're providing a very, very good meat shield for the artillery and capping unit. On the left side, it seems like the Panther is trying to do something, but it's really unemployed right now. There's not a lot of targets for it to shoot at. And in the center, we have the KT approaching. The 2 Panzerwerfers getting a nice barrage off on the AT-10 gun, so that's going to definitely provide a good opportunity for the KT to attack. There's only one other AT gun in the field, and the Su-85. There's another Su-85 for Vasa, so the Allies getting pushed once again back to the base. And again, if the Axis can kind of consolidate their positions and avoid getting propaganda and artillery as a whole too heavily, they're gonna have a good shot at you know, kind of securing these positions for themselves and getting the win. Because once again, what they really need to do, I think the Axis, what they need to do is get a couple of secure sort of fortress bases, and then just kind of wait for their heavy tanks to do their work for them. Whereas it's gonna be the Allies that are gonna need to be the proactive ones. And, you know, they're going to be the ones having to actually get the flanks off, get the big attacks in, and the way they're going to win is by... Interesting. The way they're going to win is by getting some decisive engagements and destroying basically the entire enemy force in that one engagement. Whereas the way the Germans are going to win is going to be by slowly whittling away and slowly attritioning out the Allied vehicles, and artillery especially. Here comes a nice artillery barrage. Almost destroys the little half-track. So that's some very, very good play, by the way, by that Stuka. Getting 6 kills and Veterancy 1. Overall, the Germans have exactly done what I think they should have done a while ago, which is getting artillery superiority. Not exactly a superiority. I mean, there's still 2 Katyushas out there somewhere for the Allies, so there's still a couple of good tools that the Allies have. But that's 2 artillery pieces to 3, and all the veterancy in the world will not really be, you know, compensating for that numerical disadvantage. Anyway, nice flank from these Pinos, gets behind one of the bunkers. That's going to allow them to throw a satchel charge and destroy the bunker. They can then try to come around and get another satchel charge to destroy the other bunker. You can see really the effectiveness of all these defenses. Yes, it is a little bit expensive when it comes to the manpower, but it's only 150 per bunker. So all these 3 bunkers costed 450 manpower, and they've been so effective at delaying the Allied attempts at recapturing the right-hand side that I think they would have been, you know, wasted resources if they had gone for anything else. They were just so very effective, and yeah, I like what they did. Looks like nasty Katyusha barrages coming into the center, doing a lot of damage to German assembled formations in the area. The two Panzerwerfers are in a very, very potentially dangerous spot, trying to get themselves in position for a barrage. Gonna get sort of spotted by the Ostrupen squad. And finally, there's an artillery gun, I see. So ML20 being produced, although it's in a very, very dangerous location. I would have placed it over here if I was the Allies, because in this spot, it's very, very easy for just the Stuka to come in and destroy it. So I feel like it could be in a lot better position. Looks like Vet2 Su-85 is going to go down to the KT. That's a nasty loss. But it does not completely, get destroyed. It's abandoned, so the Allies could try to recruit it. Another Su-85 is there, and it's doing damage to the KT. T-34 tries to get a nice flanking off, and it does get behind the KT, but all of the German anti-tank over here forces it away. But the KT is in a very, very bad spot, and right now the Tiger as well. No, this is bad. The Tiger needs to escape as quickly as possible, because right now it's getting flanked by the T-34-76s. T-34-76 manages to destroy the King Tiger, I'm guessing, from the rear. Where's the other Su-85? It's gonna get a lot of nasty damage off on the Tiger. As I said, this is a very dangerous position for those Panzerwerfers to be in, and that was some very, very, very bad losses for the Germans. Looks like the Su-85 over here is still abandoned, but the Germans have a triple cap, so the Allies need to be recapturing these points. There's 2 minutes left for them to get at least 1 point under their control, and this nasty Volksgrenadier that's still persistently harassing the left-hand side is just getting the Germans such an advantage. And the right-hand side defenses are working in concert with that, but the center is being ironically captured by the Allies in this crucial moment by conscripts. It seems like the artillery barrages are being used to defeat the anti-tank guns rather than the capping conscripts, which is, in my opinion, a mistake. Because right now, the German battle forces have been completely, destroyed. And finally, the nasty T-70 is able to come in and get some capping on the left-hand side VP. And of course, it would be better for right now to use the gun instead of the capping mode, just to get some kills on these guys and prevent them from just putting themselves in the cap and preventing the T-70 from capping and getting Panzerfaust off. But the T-70 is going to be able to recap. Once again, keeping that T-70 alive this entire game, just providing an extra resource for the Allies for this counter-harassment. And it was needed because Down PT's harassment was on point. He was always able to get some good harassments on the left-hand side. And it looks like a massive infantry engagements are ironically happening again because of all the sides kind of exhausting their resources. Looks like the ML20 is trying to fire either at the Stuka or at the Schwerpanzer. It's at the Schwerpanzer. And the Penals have been able to destroy the bunker, and they're now capturing the right-hand side finally for the Allies. And that's going to be a triple cap for the Allies. So the Germans are going to have 4 minutes to recapture at least 1 point. What forces do they have to do this? Well, they have 2, 3, 4 infantry squads for Down PT. They don't have the KT anymore, but they do have the Panther and the Stuka. As you can see, the Panther hasn't been able to really do all that much this entire game. It's been on the field for like a few minutes, I think, like 10 minutes, something like that. Let's take a look at the construction timers. Where's the Panther? Where's the Panther? It's going to be hard to find it, I think. Königstiger, Panther, 50 minutes. So 9 minutes on the field. Not even getting up to Vet 1. So as you can see, it was quite unemployed despite the amount of allied, allied tank destroyers. It was not really able to get some aggressive pushes in, I think, because of the fear of the mines and the anti-tank guns. So it was just a bit of an unfortunate purchase. And what does Ace have? He's got a newly purchased Tiger. He's got a Panzerwerfer, an Ostrupen squad, and a Grenadier squad with a couple of supporting units. So it's not like the Germans really have all that much. They will probably be able to recapture the right-hand side. But the center and the left, I think the Allies, with the amount of pop cap superiority that they have 170 as opposed to the Germans is 110. So that's basically half a player of an advantage. I think they're going to be able to, this time, keep control over the center. I'm calling it for the Allies right now. They just have too many units for the Germans to deal with. At this point, Down PT might want to go for an extra Jagdtier instead of anything else, because he wants to be able to counter these Su-85s, and that, that could push him into a Jagdtiger instead of a KT. Unfortunately, his Panther is getting, as you can see, kind of blasted away by the firing line of Soviet anti-tank. And the Panzer Fusiliers getting destroyed by the T-34-76s. Not enough of a combined arms, you know, presence for the Germans at this point. There's just way too many Allied units in the area. Looks like they're going to try to get their artillery to work in there. Both assault artillery and the Stuka working to kind of land the whole area. And that's going to allow the Germans, as you can see, to have a pretty much clear field. The Allies are back at base once again, and I wonder if this is a good idea for the Allies to push back so far. I think they should have just, like, taken the artillery like a man and, you know, kept their positions. But the Germans didn't push in because they just don't have enough forces. So while it was a mistake from the Allies, it's not like the Germans were able to capitalize on it. They weren't in a position to do it. The Jagdtiger is now on the field for down PT. So again, he's going to try to slowly but surely whittle away at these Su-85s. But he's going to have to be careful about those T-34 flanks. Definitely going to have to be careful. I feel like at this point, it's about the right time to start placing down some mines. But he's essentially got to use his engineers to repair. And yeah, he doesn't have a lot of munitions either. Looks like artillery is falling down on the Germans as they're trying to get some damage off. But it's just not enough. Well done, as you can see, targeting the JT with the howitzer, and also with the support of these SUs. Yeah, I don't think that much is going to come through of this Tiger and JT. So we're going to have to retreat, unfortunately for them. And, well, the anti-tank guns and the MG are not really able to take care of the VP, but the mortar will be. So the mortar is sent into cap. Interesting enough, without any smoke, but he should be able to cap. I mean, there's way too much Allied artillery fire. It's probably going to be able to destroy the Schwer Panzer quarters at some point as well. Flank from these Panzer Fusiliers is going to be met by the guns of the T-34-76s. Also doing a lot of damage, and here comes an Il-2 Sturmovik attack into the center just to provide the extra bit of suppression and damage to, you know, just kind of help the Allied infantry have the superiority over the center in the crucial moment. Right now, it seems like the Germans are pushing in with these Volksgrenadiers. They're going to be able to wipe out one of the conscripts. Finally, those conscripts were alive throughout the entire game, essentially. And the Jagdtiger is able to just kind of keep the area clear enough of Allied forces. However, this veterancy-free MG42 for the Allies is probably going to prevent, the Volksgrenadiers from capturing the VP. And at this point, yeah, these engineers would probably just be able to take all of this. So not looking good for the Axis. But they still have a chance. They still have some pretty nasty vehicles on their side. But they're just taking so much fire from this artillery. So it's not looking good for them at all. And yet more propaganda artillery. So yeah, things are not looking good for the Germans. I'm guessing that it's going to be the end of all of this. I mean, they're slowly but surely getting pushed back to their little spots. But it's just not enough. Like, there's so many Allied units. These T-34s are just, like, waiting. And once they're going to be springed, well, it's not going to be looking good for the Germans. Damn. Another nice Katyusha barrage. And here comes the T-34s. That's exactly what I was waiting for. And finally, I think one of them is going to ram. Tiger is pushed up way too far. It's going to be destroyed by the Su-85s. Panther dies by the T-34s and the anti-tank guns. T-34 is going to destroy the Panzerwerfers. And right now, oops, he's alone. Probably going to go down. Yep. And also the Stuka likely to go down as well in this whole push, and probably the Germans are just going to surrender. So I think their major mistake in this whole match was just kind of letting the Allies get the artillery superiority, and then getting themselves kind of pushed back into a position where they can attack from. And that was a kind of deadly combination. But other than that, I don't really see what else they could have done better. Like, it was just well played by the Allies as a whole. They had a good strategy, they rolled with it. The double fear propaganda was very, very effective. And yeah, that's about it. So I want to thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you soon. And yeah, I'll just watch until the end. There it is. Have a nice one.